everyone, and welcome to, what is this, episode 3 now of The Holistic Path. I'm Laura, herbalist and health enthusiast.
I'm Nellie. I work at Clovers. I've been there a long time. I'm really interested in empowering people to take their health into their own hands. And we're all about asking questions and being curious and educating folks on things to know about.
And I'm Fee. I'm a certified health and wellness coach and just all around health and wellness enthusiast. And I'm just here to help create mindful conversations about how small habits can have big and sustainable lasting impacts.
So before we begin, I'm going to do a little bit of homework here and do our disclaimer and tell you what we're all about and what we're not. So the mission of the Holistic Path is to go beyond the supplement aisle and the quick fix approaches to health and healing, and instead dig deeper into what's behind some of the most common health concerns of our time. We'll use our collective knowledge of herbal remedies, nutritional supplements, diet, lifestyle, and beyond to talk about ways we can improve vitality and quality of life. But we are not doctors, and we are not intending to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. We are health educators and enthusiasts, and the power is in your hands to do your own research. So today, another big topic, because it turns out that every topic is huge. We're talking about pain. Before I dive into what we are going to talk about today, for our huge audience out there, I want to talk a little bit about what we have in store and how we're thinking about structuring the Holistic Path going forward. Again, with this episode, we're going to start off by introducing a topic and talking about it in a very general way. And then as we go forward, we're going to dive into more specific issues underneath these broader categories so that we can really give more attention to, for example, we're going to talk about living well with pain. But in the future, we might dive into particular types of pain and to give you some more concentrated information that is about specific conditions. But we just have discovered that our episodes go on for so long because these topics are so huge and it's not definitive. So we have all kinds of ideas about ways we can bring information in different ways. So we're not going to get too much into the weeds of remedies. We'll address a few. We're going to just talk about a holistic path, a holistic look at pain and inflammation. Pain.
If you live long enough, you're going to be in pain.
Yeah.
Right. And some people are in pain from early childhood on. Some people's tolerance for pain is lower, higher. So your experience isn't always relatable to other people, which can be another part of living with pain.
Yeah.
Is that people can't possibly be in your shoes.
Yeah. Managing pain, not just physically, but also emotionally, and also how chronic pain can really impact the quality of your life and everything's associated with that. Pain is unavoidable. You're going to experience, you probably already have experienced it in some way. There's no way you haven't. Probably when you were born, you were introduced in pain. So that's why it's really important to have pain management as part of your repertoire. Thinking about ways that you can help mitigate pain in your life other than just reaching for pharmaceuticals, which you will sometimes need. And there is no shame and you don't lose your holistic cred if you need pain medication from time to time, but we all know that there are downfalls to these pain medications. Over-the-counter pain medications, NSAIDs, are irritating to our digestive system and cause problems for our liver, our kidneys. Opioid pain meds, we don't even need to get into that.
That's been exposed.
Yeah.
There are real drawbacks, and there's tolerance built up for these things as well.
And rebound sometimes. When you're trying to get off, you find much more pain before you start.
There's a lot of different types of pain, and if we were going to get into what you would want to do specifically for your pain, first questions would be, looking at what's going on. Is this like an osteoarthritis type of pain, a wear and tear pain, related to degeneration of joint tissue? Is it a visceral pain like a menstrual cramp or gallbladder pain, or pain in the soft tissues that's shooting? There's also neurological pain. That's pain that's related to damaged nerves, or even sometimes trauma to the brain. And the type of pain that you have and are experiencing, that will have some impact on what course you choose to go. But really, what we're inviting here today is for you to start going on a journey with whatever pain you might be having. If you are watching this because you experience chronic pain and you're looking for solutions, what we're inviting here today is a journey into a myriad of different things that you might need to include to help you manage your pain better, but we're not guaranteeing that pain is going to go away. So it's a big topic, it's an emotional topic, and we're excited to talk about pain. So first of all, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and talk about, we hinted here at the beginning, there's an emotional side to pain. There's a stigma surrounding pain.
And how you deal with pain.
Yeah.
Pain.
And it can be isolating because of that. Because one person's relationship to pain is so different than everyone else's that someone can look like a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
They can have undiagnosed chronic conditions like Epstein-Barr or Lyme's or an autoimmune disease that hasn't been narrowed down yet, or heavy metal poisoning, post-surgery nerve damage that's not acknowledged by the medical community. So people can feel like they're going through their own hell. Like it leads to emotional pain, isolation, a cycle.
Yeah.
Insomnia and or sleeping all the time. So it's a big topic when we're talking about mental health too.
Absolutely.
And for a lot of people, I think it's difficult for them to have healthy conversations around pain and pain tolerance because it's not something that you can really quantify,
Yeah.
right?
Not everyone is using a 1 to 10.
Your 1 to 10 may be different. Your one
Yeah.
may be
It
different than my one.
depends on how much pain you've experienced in your life.
Exactly. And just from my personal experience, I started my menses very young and it was very painful. So I thought that was just the norm. So when I started having pelvic inflammation when I was pregnant with my son, I didn't feel like that was something that really needed to be addressed because it was something that I was used to. That yes, my tolerance had been built up so much. In addition to that, high stress, we don't tend to think of children dealing with stress and how that affects their pain tolerance, but emotionally it wears on you and it increases your pain tolerance in ways where it can tend to make you numb to things that are really painful. And you don't feel there's not really community, or you don't feel like there's a safe space for you to say these things I can't see, I can't touch, but I'm feeling deeply. I mean, it is painful.
I think one of the reasons why pain has so much social stigma around it is it's invisible.
Yeah.
But if your lower back just hurts daily, no one can see it, and you still are going to work and you're still trying to do everything, but you're operating at a diminished capacity because of that. And let's be for real, when you have chronic pain, even if you can function, everything is about 500 times harder.
Yeah.
And so I just want to acknowledge that. If you have chronic pain and you are still getting up and going and doing all those things, you are living in hard mode. And it's not just your physical body that is experiencing the hardship. Your emotions are experiencing that too. There is a huge connection between pain and anxiety and depression.
Cortisol is elevated,
Yeah.
so you're literally in fight or flight when you can't run
Yeah.
or fight. It's like all that stress hormone, and your body can't do anything with it, especially if your pain is affecting your mobility, which in a lot of cases it is. And then we're looking at cardiovascular risk, weight gain, all these things around adrenal fatigue, eventually thyroid fatigue. So then you have a multitude of
It piles
ills.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a high risk for people who are living with chronic pain to develop mental health issues. And in fact, there's some disorders that pain and mental and depression or anxiety are the co-occurring symptoms, like fibromyalgia, IBS, headaches. And this makes a lot of sense because when you have chronic pain, you don't have as much access to some of the ways that you can bring joy to your life. You have, your ability to function can be really disruptive. So if you love playing tennis, but you have, osteoarthritis and degenerative disc issues, that's going to change your relationship with that.
Yeah. Even just taking in stimuli. Looking at a sunset, but your body's getting a nerve response from your knee that needs a replacement or something. You can only take in so much stimuli from the beautiful outside world when your body is sending signals to your brain that are like nails.
Yeah. It takes you out of the present moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Takes you away from being able to be there in whatever is going on in your life. Halfway, even though you're trying. So there's a grief that's associated with pain, with chronic pain.
Yeah. And there's also the real thing that is psychosomatic pain, which is, I'm not crazy about the wording because it makes people think that you're making up your pain.
Yes.
When it's just a cycle of biological happenings related to what you believe, what you think, how you perceive things, including how you perceive your own pain. So you can be in a horrible place and still find choices about how you exist there. And sometimes the choices can make you feel worse.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can give you a little bit of deliverance or a little bit of ability to function, you know.
Yeah.
I think awareness of the psychosomatic side of pain is important because that is a large part of what makes people feel isolated. The environments that a lot of us are exposed to, it's like if we can't see it, it's not real. So it's going to make you very introspective of what, am I really in that much pain? Maybe I'm not experiencing what I think I'm experiencing. It does start in your head, but it's very, very real. The experiences that you have are very, very real. And for me, my anxiety kind of exasperated into hypochondriosis because I'm talking to people and they can't identify with what I'm feeling. So I'm going to go to research.
Find someone who can.
And this one thing, this is what I'm feeling.
Sounds like me.
But pain can be related to a plethora of different conditions. And they're not always chronic. It can be something acute that just needs to be addressed. But because we're just trying to identify with what it is, okay, and what bandage can I put over it instead of getting to the root of it. A lot of times, the source of the symptom is not necessarily the source of the problem.
Yes.
So
Say
we
that
can
again.
feel them in a lot of other areas, but because we tend to run away from pain or try to get a bandage or an NSAID or something to suppress the pain, it's not really us understanding where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And a lot of mindfulness exercises I found for me helped me identify just where I was and where I was feeling tension, and a lot of the pain was really just tension being masked as it was discomfort that was being masked or exasperated into pain because it wasn't addressed. It's just something as simple as acknowledging, okay, my jaw is clenched. So that's why I'm getting a headache is because I'm not releasing any of this tension. There's a lot of relief in just understanding where you are, not necessarily trying to fix everything, but just identifying where you are in your pain journey, because the first step is to identify, okay, something is happening.
And being present in the moment.
Yeah.
I've been practicing if I'm feeling like a little overwhelmed with pain, which in my case is usually headaches. It's like something comes on quickly, like a spasm in the back or something. I will say to myself, what was I thinking just before that? And 9 times out of 10, I was going down some rabbit hole that I wasn't even aware of.
Yeah.
And not that it's totally reversible, but I can feel a response to a thought or a belief that I was sort of feeding.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be true. And so for me, that's been part of managing pain is like, what was going on with me just before I felt that? Also, what did I eat? You know? What is my body doing? Because our consciousness is our body too.
I absolutely believe that unresolved grief and trauma and stress in our life, it manifests as physical pain. It shows up there. And there's a physiological component to it as well. When we say psychosomatic, it's easy to think like, oh, you just think it and so you believe it, but your brain it's up there, it's making things happen for you, like physiologically. And cortisol, it is pro-inflammatory. And when we hold ourselves tightly, when we are holding,
bracing for the fall.
All of our muscles are contracted, we're constricted, blood's not flowing right. I just want to encourage anyone who's listening that if you recognize yourself in this and you see that there's mental health issues alongside pain issues, please treat them both.
Yeah.
Please pay attention to both of them.
Mhm.
And bring some compassion to what you're going through.
And that might involve asking for help, because people around you have an expectation of normalcy, and you may need to clarify with loved ones, friends, hey, this is really where I'm at. I'm putting on a face most of the time, and people don't know.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of masking all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're able to have people close to you who are tuned in, then you can ask. And it makes people feel good to be able to offer something, whether it's just a dark room or space or quiet or time or a meal. It's part of taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And when you do that, you're also opening up the invitation for someone else to be able to do that for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and it is so hard. I have this temperament that when I'm going through something, which I've had several different kind of big pain experiences in my life, and my first reaction is always like, no. Like, I do not want to lose control.
Yeah.
And I do not want to lose control. And it is shocking to lose control. And it is shocking to need help. And it is shocking to not be able to do the things that sustain you through the day. Or, you know, if you're like me and physical activity is a big part of your mental health routine and you can't do it. So eventually, I, you know, always having to come to this place with myself where it's like, almost like give myself this hug. Where it's like, it's okay. You're going to have, we're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to ask for help. You might not be able to be your perfect ideal vision right now.
Yeah.
Or your independent person.
Yes. Yeah.
And
The
I think
delusion of that.
we all need community. Like, that is a part of vitality and health, is community and sharing in our experiences. And life experiences bring us to how trusting we are of others and close us off from those experiences. But I would also encourage people to find your village. There's something empowering about sharing your experiences and community building, and people that empower you, because another part of that is when you open up to people about your experiences with pain, people can sometimes, and by all means they mean well, but they can make the situation worse, right? Because they'll give you the, I'm so sorry. And oh my God.
Or they can project their own experience onto
yes,
you,
like
you're
it's
hey, I
the
wasn't
end of the
going
world.
that bad.
Yeah,
you know?
but now you're like, okay, maybe it is.
I'm
And I'm
dying.
not. Yeah. No, like just being careful about how we approach those situations and speaking from a place of power, because there is power in it. Yes, you may have to take a break from things that you enjoy, or you may have to, or people. But healthy swapping in our current day and age will have you think that if you're resting, that you're not doing anything. But a rest is a part of taking care of yourself. It's a vital piece of what health is. And there's a time to rest. And rest is probably the most important part of the entire cycle of your day, is giving your brain a break, giving your body a break, getting into that deep rest state so that your muscles can relax. And we don't really make space for that. So just being mindful.
We don't value it as a society.
Yeah.
And I just want to speak to that for 1 second, because we can say, you know, all these ideas of compassion and, you know, giving yourself rest and giving yourself space. But sometimes you want to do that and you cannot, because you have to meet financial obligations that only you can meet. You have to keep going. Your boss does not care.
Parental obligations.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a world that unfortunately is just not built to take care of people. And it can be kind of a radical thing to do, to say, like, I am going to prioritize my physical and mental health above my financial health. And sometimes you just can't make that choice. And we have to acknowledge that in everything we talk about, that sometimes our choices are constrained. And these are big issues for us to look at as a society.
And some of these things sound privileged because we're even, you know, like talking about the capacity for making choices.
I definitely remember crying to my therapist once when I was going through a health crisis, lots of pain, and I couldn't take time off, and saying, getting sick is for the rich, you know, and really feeling that. So if you're in that place, that is real. And I wish I could give you a magic answer to that. But even if that is you're still relevant here, and we still want to be able to speak to those of you who cannot take the break that you need to take for your bodies. One of the things that I think everyone can do no matter where they are is learning to accept what's reality for their body in the present moment. It's not easy to do.
The word accept is hard. I mean, if you need to use a different word like acknowledge, I can acknowledge reality.
If you keep turning away from it, then you can't give your body what it needs.
Yeah.
So the sooner you can do that and say like, oh, you know, I can't go for the runs I used to go on because I have this pain, or I don't have the endurance I once had. I need to go to bed earlier. Whatever it is, the sooner you accept what is real for you, the sooner you can start giving your body what it's asking for, which is a big part of the holistic path. No matter what we're talking about, it's about learning to listen to yourself, learning to listen to your own body, learning to trust what is going on with you, and to not see the messages that you're receiving from your body as the enemy, but to see your body as your friend who's trying to tell you something.
Yeah, messengers.
And bringing you into the present moment, because so much suffering happens around ruminating or stressing about this future thing and having expectations for yourself that don't match reality. Not that people can't think positively, and I mean, there's a lot to be said for all of that, but it's also kind of can get people down a track that can exacerbate all their suffering.
Yeah, but we just talked about the need to rest, but staying active is also important. But you have to, again, listen to your body and start tweaking the ways in which you're active so that it's comfortable for you.
Even if it's just mental activity, like occupying yourself with something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or doing sitting qigong, which barely involves moving, but moves a lot of energy through the body. So changing your ideas about activity and doing something within a range of what's healthy.
Yeah.
Because active doesn't mean you have to be a triathlete or you have to run 2 miles a day. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but very subtle things can really help with that. And movement does that directly because it releases feel-good hormones. And even when it's not what you want to do, like that, back to the importance of understanding where you are. These are things that I know may not feel the best in this moment, but I know that this is something that is ultimately going to get me to the place that I want to be. And I don't have to bite off big chunks. I can start with just sitting, and if you have a sedentary lifestyle, you can do something like every 20 minutes, just get up and stretch. Move your shoulders, roll your neck. Those simple things that sound like very nuanced and very like cliche, but those things really
bring you
help.
back to
Yeah.
There's been studies that show that just going for like a 5-minute walk every, I don't have the study in front of me, but it wasn't very often. It was like every 2 hours. And then you get up and you just walk around for 5 minutes. That can greatly reduce inflammation in the body. It also helps regulate blood sugar. These small moves, I think so often we want to go for the goal. It's like, well, I'm going to get 6-pack abs and I'm going to, and we focus on these things. But just walking is medicine. It is free. It's available to most people, not all people, and I want to recognize that. But just walking is magic medicine. And
if you can't, if you have access to swimming, incredible releases the pressure from the joints. Like I said, Tai Chi, Qigong, some exercises and yoga that involve like more subtle movements that involve stretching and moving energy through the body. If you haven't looked up somatic exercises, particularly like floor work, where you're using the resistance of the floor to work with myofascial tissue, it's a big deal.
Breath work is really amazingly helpful for just bringing yourself to center. To understanding where you are in your body. So many of us don't realize that we're just not breathing the right way. So your diaphragm and your ribs are supposed to move opposite of each other when we breathe, but that bracing that we talked about earlier, bracing for the pain, bracing for the next, time that we're in that fight or flight, we're in that heightened state so much that we stay there. And so we're raising them at the same time. There's so much power.
So we're never letting our breath come through.
That was
our
me
abdomen.
for years at a
All of
time.
us.
You just suck it in, and that's
wait,
a great part.
Your stomach's not moving when you're breathing.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
just breathing all up here.
I went through a period of trying waist trainers and
Oh, right.
the really and what does it goes against the very basic principle of being able to get circulation to all of these extremities. You're cutting it off by trying to, like, that whole dysmorphia that we get into of, like, I have to look like this. All bodies are beautiful. All bodies are beautiful. And it starts with getting breath into these places. We can breathe so much deeper than we do. It's a muscle. The diaphragm is a muscle. Exercise these things. And if you're not big on exercise, or that's too big of a chunk, start with breathing, because that is still an exercise. And it will work wonders for your capacity, for understanding when it's time to rest, when it's time to be active.
Also for just tolerance of pain.
Absolutely.
Like, one of the first things I did with my daughter when she was little, if she had a scrape or burn or anything, I was just breathe. Like, let's take steady, deep breaths, and it just gets all the blood circulating, brings your cortisol down. It just and this word exercise, exercising that, but also like thinking of a practice. Practicing. And that can go as far as like yoga, meditation, any sort of spiritual practice that you're drawn to. Exploring that when you're in a pain situation can be amazing.
And you can then bring this curiosity to your pain. You're like, what does it actually feel like? What is this experience like? That might sound miserable to you, but it actually kind of puts you above the pain in this way where you can actually see it. And you can combine breathing practices with gentle movement practices, and that's really what's at the heart of things like yoga. And we're kind of in this golden age of free yoga videos. And yoga does not have to be, you're getting into crow position and doing
It doesn't have to be hot yoga.
you can just gently stretch your body. Just doing that right now felt really good. Move your body and find what movements feel good for you, and building that relationship through movement and with your breath. And that practice is incredibly calming and brings you closer to yourself. We talked about the relationship between stress and pain, and how stress. We're looking here at notes about stress relief and how lowering stress in your life has direct connections to increasing your ability to handle and manage your pain. And everything we just said is about that. But there's some other, I have some other notes on here. I'll just read you the list of things that I wrote down.
Also, do you like how we're just ignoring this insane animal, which we film around? Part of my journey has always been animals, whether it's cats or dogs or whatever. But this is Honey, and we're just doing the thing.
Well, pets are on the list.
Doing it with us.
Pets are one of the things that can help.
So finding healthy ways to just distract yourself, to take yourself, so you're not just solely. We just talked about curiosity about pain, and there's time for that, and there's this other time where it's like, I need to figure out a way to not just be a complete pain body right now.
Without negating it.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it and give yourself some extra things.
Yeah.
To keep you busy.
And your brain is a great tool for this. We talk about dissociation a lot like it's a bad thing, but it's also a freaking tool.
It's a skill.
It's a skill, and you can yield it or wield it. You can yield it and wield it. Yield to it and then yield it. So some like a creative practice is can be part of this. That can be journaling. You can have a pain journal, where you write about pain. You could also write creatively.
Write things you're grateful for.
Write things you're grateful
beyond your
for.
pain, or maybe your pain becomes something that's teaching you.
Yeah.
In my life, I have noticed every time I've had a health crisis that's resulted in pain, I've learned more about myself, more about the human body, and my body specifically, my emotional body, and been able to help more people and relate to people on a different level. I've had healthcare practitioners who I can tell within one visit have not suffered pain. Yeah. And it's like, whoa, you're missing what I'm dealing with here. It's so discouraging. So like journaling and thinking of like, okay, body,
Yeah.
What are you teaching me? Okay, body, what do you need? And
Yeah.
having a written dialogue with your body could be very powerful.
Yeah. And I love what you said about pain being a teacher. I found that every kind of health crisis of my life has come, it's like something breaks open inside of me. And there's this deeper healing that I find through it, which is not always, not in every moment.
Never fun.
It's never fun. You're never like, oh boy.
Did I ask for healing?
But so like, let's look at this.
Yeah.
There's something there to look at.
Again, to the curiosity.
Again, the curiosity. There's something there, and having a creative practice can open that up, or it can just be a distraction. And I just also want to say that you don't have to be, when I say creative, I'm not like you're going to become a master painter.
No, make a sticker book.
Yeah, whatever. It can, whatever.
Crosswords.
Doodle circles if
Yeah.
you want. Like, whatever it is, find your thing.
Get into a flow and find something that sparks a little joy, sparks a little play, that meets your physical as well as mental needs. Maybe that's baking if you can get up and stand, and you like to cook. Maybe that's even just planning thinking about the colors you want to paint your walls. So, maybe it's rearranging your living room.
Deep clean your one closet.
The visualization is a big one too. Sit with your body and to sit with your pain, that through my experiences as well, because I was the opposite for a lot of people. Anxiety can lower your pain threshold. For me, it's the complete opposite. I'm like, I've known this my entire life. This is what life is. So what's next?
More likely to injure yourself that way.
Yeah. And it does make you more prone to that, because you don't really take the time to stop and this is or maybe I did a little too much. You don't know boundaries. So a lot of that comes with just being able to visualize, wow, I can see myself being healthy. I can see this being a bump in the road, but not the end of the road. I can see myself overcoming this, but you have to be able to, you have to believe it.
Yeah.
If it's all in our minds, the way that they tell us it is.
Has to open up.
Yeah, and all you need is just a little bit. Like
And
they say, the
all you need is
just
one
a-
ally.
And sometimes that's yourself. That comes from journaling.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone else to validate my experiences. This is my experience. It is real. This is a moment in time, and I'm going to be able to come back. I love keeping my journals too, because it's something empowering about coming back to a place where you thought was rock bottom. Couldn't get any worse. And then you start to climb out of that space, and you realize this was just a low of a new high. And it's all a part of the process, because it is a journey, but there's something empowering about not giving up, about finding strength within yourself instead of externally, which I think a lot of the medical community kind of, it takes that autonomy or that agency away from you, where you feel like, okay, if it's pain, I have to go to someone else.
In some ways, negating your self-support system. Not that you don't need them also.
Absolutely.
I love what you just said, V, and I've always been a journaler, and I just have boxes and boxes of journals. And sometimes I pick them and look through them, and I think, oh my gosh, I have been my own best friend all along.
Oh yeah. I look back and I'm like, sarcastic Pollyanna. Still the same.
There you are. I love you. So journaling, probably for any topic we're going to talk about journaling. And a lot of the things you'll see that we talk about it again and again. So a creative practice, that is part of this pain management. Other ways to distract yourself, don't knock video games. If you like video games, I have good news for you, because there are actually studies that have come out that show that playing video games can actually put a distance between you and both your physical and your mental pain. This is also true of puzzles and other mental stimulation if that is not your thing. But if you like Super Mario and
or Tetris. I
Yeah.
did a study about Tetris and PTSD.
Yeah. Wow. Gets you into that flow state.
Yeah.
And that flow state is a healing state.
Yeah. And it also builds new neural pathways away from, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. Oh my God, I'm in so much pain. You get this neural pathway lighten up away from those real thoughts and feelings, and your brain is sort of occupied over here, and that old pathway is diminishing a little bit. And so it's kind of amazing what we can do.
Yeah. So there's some tools that are and that we might not think of that are unexpected allies, and that includes games, puzzles, play. That's a big part of it. And the last kind of big, kind of general thing we can talk about: lower inflammation in the body, and just something to consider if you are experiencing, whether it's just some acute pain or chronic pain from a condition, or because you're getting older and you're just experiencing the wear and tear pain of life, is the anti-inflammatory diet, which is it's kind of a big buzzword right now. And I just want to say that I hate the word diet just in general, because I think it conjures restrictiveness.
Yeah.
And I just want to, I really like to throw out there's lots of things that you should avoid, and we can talk about that, but I really want to focus on what you should include, because what we eat is a huge contributor to our well-being, and there are foods that can make it easier for your body to handle inflammation. I would never suggest that just eating alone would be enough to, like, if you have fibromyalgia, it might not be enough, or whatever it might be, but focusing on foods that are going to be beneficial for the body just in general, that's really what an anti-inflammatory diet is.
Because that inflammation is sort of at the root of all pain. It's kind of that basis where it starts. So major player. Yes.
Yeah. So if you're going to choose a diet and to eliminate these things and these things and these things, we're just going to put some things on a list that you're going to want to do. And you can tell when I've done anti-inflammatory sort of eating, I have a finger knuckle that's my barometer. And if I pick up my laundry detergent and it hurts, I shouldn't have eaten that. Or if I do my buttons on my shirt in the morning and it's stiff, I had that last night. Okay. So one person might be able to eat quinoa and another person might not. Just pay attention.
Another good thing for journalism to kind of keep track of what causes you to feel more achy, more inflammation versus
Yeah, but so the same. Most of this won't be news for people who are like, I'm going to watch a holistic health podcast. But foods that really help to lower inflammation in the body are rich in antioxidants. They're rich in fiber. They're rich in healthy fats. They're nutrient dense, whole foods.
Colorful.
Yes,
rainbow.
Yeah, and if you're wondering how to eat your antioxidants, that's the answer. Antioxidants, pigment food. So eat a wide variety of pigments. It's that saying back from childhood, eat the rainbow it's not cheesy, it's true. And I think most people know that we should eat more whole foods and less processed foods just in general.
Which can be confusing for people because we're lectured against whole grains, we're lectured against lignans and things like beans, the skin around an almond. All of these things are whole foods but can be inflammatory. Yeah. So thinking firstly, we're not going to eat from a package. We're going to find food that's either fresh or unprocessed as possible, and then parsing that out based on your digestive needs, which we've already covered a lot of, and finding out what works for you. So you could do a vegan diet, and one person would thrive. Where another person might do better with all meat and eggs. But in any case, you should be very aware of choosing to the best of your capacity clean vegetables, things that are either grass-fed or organic, some sort of negating the poison that is in our food system, including unpackaged foods. So it's expensive, and one of those things that's a problem with the class system that is our culture. But there are more and more local people doing things right, serving local communities. There are more and more ways to get good food.
And I think in the beginning, what was very daunting for me, I went through an entire period of almost eating nothing because of too much information. Like, if I eat that, that's going to be wrong. But when we're talking about whole foods versus processed foods, even if you aren't in a situation where you can get organic, grass-fed, you're always going to benefit most from eating whole foods versus processed foods. They are inflammatory. The oils,
Rancid
fried.
additives.
High,
It's-
high salt content.
Yes, very empty of nutrients, which are literally the building blocks that every single cell in our body needs in some capacity. So I was overwhelmed with that. Like, okay, well, I can't get organic, so I'm just going to keep eating the fast stuff. No, just don't be afraid. I just want to encourage anyone who's in that space, don't be afraid to try something. Just start where you are with what you have. And if you eat a highly processed diet, simply start by incorporating more whole foods.
Yeah.
And there's a joy that comes from preparing food that actually tastes good and feels good, because you're going to release those feel good hormones from you preparing a meal. So you get kind of like the double dose of it. It's good for your body, but it's also good for your soul, good for your mind at the same time. So there's a lot of power there. Don't be so overwhelmed with, oh my God, it's so much. Where do I start? If I can't do this and I can't do that, then I'm not going to do anything. Start with where you are with what you have, and take little steps to add on to that. And it's going to make a world of difference.
Yeah, and that's, why I like so much to focus on something you can add. Because if you're like, man, I hear you, but I'm already stressed, I don't have a lot of money, and I rely on food as a source of comfort. Just think about, like, okay, how can I add a little bit more fiber into my diet today? How can I add a little bit more antioxidants into my diet today by eating some berries? Or maybe I'm going to put like ground turmeric on my popcorn, or maybe I'm going to drink green tea in the afternoon. I have a ritual of drinking tea.
Or I'm going to have salmon once a week and get my omega-3s.
Yeah. There's all kinds of ways that you can do that. Maybe you're just like, I'm going to make a grilled cheese sandwich, but I'm going to put some sauteed spinach on there. Like you take little steps. And you just thinking in this way where it's like, how can I make this meal a little bit more nutritious? And really including, we'll talk more about this in different videos, but including lots of different herbs and spices onto your food. They are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, and they make your food taste good.
They do. A lot of people think they like fried foods, or they're afraid of trying a vegetarian or vegan diet because I like the way my meat the flavor, but the flavor comes from the herbs. It comes from the herbs and the seasoning. So you can do that and make these vegetables taste just as good, if not better, than some meat-based.
Yeah, so there's lots that can be done. If we can go over the anti-inflammatory diet like kind of ad nauseum, but you can also Google it and you can find a lot of information. It kind of mirrors the Mediterranean diet, which I love that as an example for people of a lifestyle approach to eating well, because it's not super restrictive. It's not like you have to count your carbs and it's really approachable. Also drink up your hydration. If you're not already, some people are a little bit too far on it and they're like drinking 3 gallons of water. So if that's you, maybe you can cut back a little. But if you're
replace soda with a bubbly water, or half soda, half bubbly water, like work toward overall hydration and less toxins. It feels so much better.
Yeah, and just try to move away from refined sugars and deep fried foods as you can, as at least moving away from relying on them as your main source of food, if that's where you've been, which is no shame. We've all been there. That's kind of the American way. But moving toward a diet that includes more plants, that includes more whole foods, that includes more berries and spices and good sources of fiber, and healthy fats from avocado and fish and all these things, that can go a long way.
Yeah, and this could look like a 3-course meal once a week, or it could look like a smoothie every day from something in your freezer.
Oh yeah, good. Smoothies are my go-to for, you can sneak your powders in, you can sneak your healthy fats from your seeds, things like that. You can dump it all in there. A lot of the healthy stuff that we're afraid of, they don't taste as bad as we think. You have to just have the courage to try something different, and it does plenty for just expanding the way that you view the world. It really changes your mindset, and changing that mindset makes you more open to other experiences. And
you start to feel better.
Yes, you do. Now, I would also like to add that when you start making that transition, it's very important to do it incrementally, because you can feel worse when you first wean yourself off of a super inflammatory diet, rich in fried foods and processed foods. You will literally feel ill as you detox from your way of eating. But resetting your palate, trying new things, crunchy foods are also a great way to just really satiate and sit with how something actually tastes. Like we just kind of swallow things down almost whole,
Like snakes.
and we don't even know what it tastes like. We're just like, oh, I've tasted it before, and this is food I'm supposed to eat, so I'm just gonna swallow it down. But really sitting and having a practice of mindful eating will really help expand your view on things like a purple sweet potato. Like you'll look at it and be like, what is that? It tastes amazing. Yeah, just taste it and see if it doesn't work for you. And also don't be afraid to try things more than once. Maybe the way that it was prepared. Maybe you sauteed it and you didn't like it. Maybe try baking it or throwing it into a bowl where you can kind of pile stuff in. Yeah. And there's a plenty. So there's something out there for you. Just start.
It's a brave journey, but it's such a worthwhile journey, and there's so many things that go into really lowering inflammation in the body, but nutrition is always foundational for whatever we're talking about, and feeding your body for the state that you are in is key. So we'd be remiss not to talk about anti-inflammatory principles in your diet. Again, you can look up more information about what this looks like, but also trust yourself. If you are eating something and you know you don't feel good after eating it, that is real, even if the internet says it's good for you. So trust yourself, come into a relationship with your body and with food. And is there anything else either of you want to add to this talk on living well with pain before we...
Well, we'll have more when we get into specific
Yeah.
situations,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And supplements and,
Yeah.
things like that. So
Definitely.
too.
Yes. More to come. We will have videos ongoing about different health topics and digging more into specifics, but this has hopefully been helpful for you if you're struggling with chronic pain and you don't even know where to begin. Thank you for listening.